If you're struggling with creating better details or progressing from blockout stage to detail stage, when you're modeling, then this video is for you. I'm gonna show you how to create a blockout, how to break it with secondary detail, and how to detail properly so the details are balanced and the model looks awesome. Let's go. We're gonna start with a cube, so we're gonna add a cube to the scene. Now I'm gonna be using add-ons, so machine tools, hard ops, box cutter. If you don't know how to use these add-ons, I have plenty of videos on that. Now, if you're a new user, or even if you're intermediate and you still have some gaps in your knowledge in Blender, then I highly recommend you grab our accelerator course, which is fantastic. It's a very well structured curriculum. It's going to teach you the basics of UI, of hard surface, modeling, detailing, design and rendering. The whole process is explained, and we have thousands of students in the program. They love it. We have tons of testimonials on our website, so go ahead and check it out. The link is in the video description. This course is nice and short, but it's packed with valuable info and is going to really help you get started with hard surface modeling. Alright, so now let's go back to our cube here, and we're going to flatten it, so SZ. And we're going to make it a little bit longer, so SY, until we're going to achieve this kind of a shape, maybe a little bit wider, okay, something like this, and maybe a little bit thinner, okay. So I'm going to add a bevel here, and I'm going to actually go with hard ups. But before I do that, we need to apply scale, because our scale at the moment is a little bit out of whack. So you can see here our scale is kind of off. So if I'm going to start adding bevels, this is not going to go very well, okay? So we need to apply scales. Control A, apply scale, and now everything should be peachy. So when I'm going to apply a bevel, it should be fine. Now, like I said, I'm going to be using add-ons, so I'm going to go to edit mode with machine tools by pressing tab and go to edge. You can watch my machine tools tutorial on YouTube. I have 2 massive videos. Go ahead and watch them if you don't know how to use it. Now I'm going to press Ctrl B to bevel this, and you can see we have this overlap issue. So we just press C to clamp it, and it's gonna clamp the bevel. It's not gonna overlap. We're gonna add some segments. Let's say you can see segments at the top here. I would say 10 will do, but we can go with 12 to make it a little bit more dense. And then we're gonna mirror this to the other side. I'm gonna do this mesh machine. So Alt X and mirror. This didn't work very well. Let's go to side view. Interesting, that is bugged. Okay, so we're gonna mirror this with hard ups. Alt X and mirror. Boom. Cool, so we got that. And I'm gonna drop a bevel on top of this, a tiny bevel. Now, when you're adding bevels, right, you wanna make sure that you know what you're doing. In this case, we wanna add a tiny bevel because it's gonna be kind of like a machined piece, okay? So we wanna add a really tiny bevel to emphasize this kind of metallic nature, kind of like a machined nature of this object. All right, now you can see here we have this nasty edge here going on the side. That happens when you're going to create a bevel with bevel overlap. So go to edit mode. You can see here we're gonna have a double edge. See that? We can very easily clean it up with machine tools by pressing 3, and it's going to remove all unnecessary edges, and we're good to go. Okay, cool. So that's gonna be our basic shape. Now, the trick to designing, okay, is to know how to break the shape, how to start adding secondary detail, how to flesh out, the model that you wanna create. So obviously you need to have some idea what you're doing, but it's not that complicated. You just have to follow certain, rules. Like for example, 70-30. This rule basically means that what you want to do is you want to concentrate details on 30% of your model, and 70% should be clean. Also, you should be concentrating details in certain areas, so you can lead from one area to another, kind of like from island to island. So you got place for eyes to focus on detail, you got place for eyes to rest. This is a very simple, rule of designing. So what we're going to do, we're going to start slicing this item and, kind of creating more interesting. First, what I want to do is I want to slash the front, so I'll W to enter box cutter. So now what we're going to do, we're going to run a box cutter here, and we're going to press K for knife, and we're going to slash this. Obviously what you also can do, you can run a loop like this with Control R, so it depends what you want to do. We're going to split this into loops, so Control B and scroll your mouse to split it. We're going to press E Then we're gonna press right mouse button to cancel and Alt S to scale and move your mouse holding shift inside to create this kind of a nice indentation like that. This is gonna create a detail in the front that's going to separate this front and sort of indicate where the front of the item is. And also going to add, an interesting detail, because when you render this, you're gonna have this shadow, which is gonna create a detail on its own, okay? Now what I wanna do is I wanna concentrate more details in the front here, so I wanna create a cut like that, leading to the back. So now let's go to box cutter and press and select this end gun here. And also we're gonna have to turn off knife, because knife is gonna be basically persistent here. So you see, like when you draw a cutter, box cutter is gonna remember that you had a knife selected. So what you wanna do is you want to switch it to cut. And also I'm going to select this option here, which is right mouse button to cancel. So when I'm going to be running a cut and I change my mind, I can right mouse button to cancel the whole end gun cut, okay? So I'm going to be running an end gun here, end gun cut here like this. And I'm going to hold shift and click, okay, to apply this. So hold shift and click. And we're going to switch it to slice, so shift bull, okay? And then we can move this. Now, what we need to do is we need to move this end gun, right, in a way, this end gun cut, that it doesn't interfere with our bevels here, okay? So I'm select this object, I'm going to go to Q, settings, and I'm going to click on wireframe, so we can see the wireframe, okay? We're going to select this cutter. You see, it's a little bit close here. So when I'm going to be adding another bevel, this could be problematic. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move it down. So it's going to be in the middle of, of this cut here, okay? And now what we need to do, we need to add some loops here to kind of, contain this shading problem. Because you see here, we're going to get this nasty shading problem. Even if I'm going to, apply weighted normals, so go to Q and I'll click on sharpen, I'm still gonna have this problem, so we want to fix this, okay? So I'm gonna run another end gun cut here, like that, and I'm gonna press K for knife, and I'm gonna run a knife here. So this loop's gonna be actually, sort of, let's go to edge mode. This loop's gonna be kind of containing this problem. So GY, move it closer here, and I'm gonna do the same thing on the other side. So here, you can also cut with box cutter in edit mode. So you can do it in edit mode as well. I'm gonna run another cut here like this, and I'm gonna press K and run another cut. And now my issue is contained, okay? So I don't have this problem. Now, what we could do technically, we could grab this cutter and we could run a bevel on this edge here, okay? So Control B, then this is going to introduce some problems. So let's run about, I would say, maybe 6 bevels here. 6 segments. You can see them on the top. And I think this will do. And let's just, leave this wireframe view so we can actually see how this looks. So go to settings and turn off wireframe. And I think this looks good. We don't have any issues. This one on the bottom, there's a little bit of a shading problem, but let's introduce weighted normals. This didn't fix my problems. Let me just recall this cutter, grab it, and let's just try to move it up and down to negate this shading problem. Maybe we need to run it really close to the edge and remove one of these edges. This is acceptable, I think. That's better. See, sometimes you need to nudge your cutter to a position to, fix the shading problem, okay? Now what we also can do, we don't have to go all the way to the back. We can actually cut this cutter. So let's go here to FS scroll. And we can nuke this cutter here. So let's go to D cut, select the box, and we're going to cut this like that and press space. And we're going to cut this cutter in a way that's going to end here, and our box is gonna be sort of contained, okay? So now here again, I would like to add some, some kind of, select this one and let's add some security loop here. So let's cut that, and maybe select this one and run another cut. Let me just turn off this line here. There we go, and space, and we're good to go. And shift 2 to turn off the cutters. And how we looking? I think we're looking pretty good. All right, so now from the front, what I want to do is I want to run another cut from the top, okay? So we're going to run another cut here. So press D, go to cut, and we're gonna run it from the left, from the right hand side because we have a mirror go to the other side. So if you're gonna run from this side, we're gonna automatically mirror this. So let's run it here like that, and it doesn't matter what you're gonna do on the other side. And let's just click, hold shift, and press space. And then we can move this, okay? So GY, move it a little bit here, so it's not so deep. And I think this is gonna do. We're going to bevel this. Maybe let's run 8 segments here to make it really smooth. So we can select this cutter, and you can see here, if you go to Control tilde menu, that we have a boolean cut running on it. So we can actually 2 booleans, one in the back, one in the front. So we can apply these booleans, okay? So we can apply the front boolean, which is gonna be this one. So let's open this up and simply apply it. So now this boolean on the front was applied, which will allow us to run a bevel on this edge, okay? So Control B, and we should be able to, let me just isolate this. We have a bit of a problem. Let's select this entire edge here, okay? And run a boolean on this, bevel, sorry. There we go, that will work. So now let's just go back to the full view here, press Shift 2, and there you go, that looks really nice. I like that. This is really cool, perfect. We could run some sort of an indentation here or additional cuts to make it more interesting, but this is a secondary detail stage, so we can start doing this later, okay? So I wouldn't worry about it now. So we could also add another bevel here in the back. So let's recover this cutter, and we're going to run a bevel on this edge here. Select the cutter and go to edit mode. Now we have to apply this boolean, so let's go here and apply the boolean, and then we can run a cut here, a bevel here. So let's just Control B that, and adjust your bevel to a degree where it doesn't create any terrible issues on the mesh. There is a bit of an issue here. Let me just try to run it differently. Maybe we need more segments. These are limitations of polygon modeling. Now we're gonna have some problem here, but that's okay. See, this problem here is caused by overlapping verts or edges. It's a typical polygon modeling issue. So we can go to shade wire, and you can see here, and actually not shade wire, wireframe, that's what I want. And go here, you can see that the problem is these two edges, you see, overlapping. So once we apply the boolean, we're gonna be able to connect these two edges here, these two verts, and then remove this edge, and the shading problem gonna go away. So don't worry about it. Let's go back to our solid view, Shift 2. And you see now we're getting somewhere slowly. Now we're gonna go here, select this face. So go to edit mode, select the face, go to Q menu, and go to mesh tools and selection to boolean. And now we can move a mouse and create a boolean here, like this. Move your mouse in. There we go. And I think this kind of a depth will be fine. Grab this boolean and do the same thing. So go to face select and Q mesh tools, and then selection to boolean, and cut this one here like this. Okay, so now we're gonna select this boolean here, the main boolean, okay, and go to front view, and we're gonna run a regular cut here like this, space, which will basically remove the boolean and revert to the original mesh. So you're gonna create kind of like connectors here. It's pretty cool, no? So let's do that, and I think we're good. We can apply this. So let's just go to operations and multiply. Now we got this these sharp edges everywhere. So let's select everything, right click, and in edge mode. And let's go to clear sharp. There you go. This is something caused by applying auto smooth, because when you use smart apply, the auto smooth is going to be applied to the mesh. It's a Blender 4.2 issue. Can't do anything about that. Now we can't see really much here, so let's go to Control tilde menu and let's turn off bevel in in edit mode. So we go to edit mode, it's going to disappear. Let's just select these two edges and control B them. For some reason we can't bevel deeper. We have some vert here, so press 3 to clean it with machine tool. So let's try this again, control B, there we go. And let's lower the amount of segments to maybe, I don't know, 8. I don't think we need more than that. And let's bevel this, okay. In fact, we can select these edges as well here. So let's bevel everything like this, okay. So it's gonna be kind of uniform, all right. And now we're gonna create a chamfer here, okay. So let's go to edit mode, select this with Shift and Alt, and here too, Shift and Alt, select these. And then we're going to Control B that, and you need to scroll your mouse down to create a chamfer. Don't make this chamfer too large. You can hold Shift to, I have to select this edge. Make sure you're going to select all the edges, yeah. Control B again, and then hold Shift to, kind of slow down this movement, and boom. And this one didn't get mirrored because our mirror was applied. So let's just run another mirror, Alt X, mirrored here, and we're good to go, okay. So now we got this shape going on, which is kind of cool. And now we're gonna enable the dots with box cutter, which is here. So enable that. Go to circle, hold Control, and you'll see you're gonna have some dots. Now we want dots here in the middle, okay. So we're gonna create an edge here with J, and when you hold Control, you're gonna have a dot perfectly here. So you can align your cut, your circular cut perfectly. Hold Shift, increase the number of verts to maybe like 40. You can see them on the top here. Then we're going to cut inside like this. Press T for solidification. And we're going to create this kind of a shape here in the middle. Space, and you're good to go. Alright, so now with this one done, what we can do, now be careful because sometimes Hardops is going to apply the bevel, so let's see if it's going to happen. Let's go to Smart Apply, and you see that's a bug. It's going to apply a bevel, so be careful, right? So in this case, what we're going to do, we're going to apply this manually. So let's go to Boolean and simply apply this, okay? Because we want this one applied. Now what I want to do is I want to bevel these. So I want to bevel these, okay? But I want to chamfer these, right? Select that and chamfer. And we can have a larger chamfer here, okay? So you can have a different size of chamfers running on this. And here again, we're going to hold Control and draw another kind of a cut. And this one can be a little bit deeper. And we can draw another cut inside of this cut. So select the cutter, hold Control, and create another cut here like this. And you're gonna have a very interesting, sort of a shape here. And we could again apply this boolean. So select this mesh, go to control tilde and apply the boolean. And then we can just simply, maybe even we can drop this in. So GY, move it in deeper. And then we can just chamfer this and maybe bevel this one as well. So select this entire loop here and just bevel it, okay. And we have kind of an interesting shape going on in here. We could run some more cuts on this front here. We could run a cut in the bottom, so we're going to offset from the top. Larger cut here. Okay, if you want to make the same size of the cut as in the top, it's going to look a bit weird, so you want to make it a bit larger, so look better. Press B for bevel, and we're going to, drop it in one more time. Okay, bevel, there we go, drop it in. And then shift click. Okay. Now with this cut here, we can run some cuts in addition to that. So we could have some interesting cuts running on this mesh. We could have something in here. Could cut this in the middle, like that. And we could have another one on the bottom maybe. And, maybe something like this, and we're good to go. So we got some kind of an interesting, shape in here. We could then apply, let's grab this boolean, so I have a scroll. We're gonna apply everything on that boolean, so smart apply. And then we're gonna apply this boolean to the mesh. So now it's gonna be a mesh, okay? And now with this mesh applied, what we can do is, for example, have some fun here. Control B that and create a bevel here like this, okay? And we could select everything and right click and go to edge mode and clear sharps. All right. And then you could have some stuff here on the top. So for instance, we could, you know, just go here to the top and create some interest, maybe some more segments to make it smoother. Move this here. Maybe we can change it to knives, okay, and slice this. So now with this one, we could inset this and GZ and drop it in until it snaps. And let me see how this looks. This looks pretty good. Let's just Q and shift click on the curve extract to create like a sort of like a shape on top of it. And we can control click on sharpen to apply this, which is going to add this kind of a circle. And what we could do, we could move an origin point here, because remember this is cut out from the original mesh, so it shares the origin point. You see the origin point is here. So Shift S with machine tools and move origin to geo. Then we can move cursor to selected. Okay, and if you don't have this option set up, just simply go to machine tool preferences and you need to enable the where is it? Cursor and origin point, this one. Okay, and now what we're gonna do, we're going to run we can run a bevel on this one, why not? And in order to remove these sharp edges around this bevel, you can run shift control click on sharpen, which is going to recalculate sharpen, and it's going to remove all the sharp edges and apply them only to edges that's supposed to be sharp. So, you know, if you go here to settings and sharpening shading, sharp is going to be applied to all edges above 60 degrees. So in our case, the edge on the bottom here. Okay, let's go to the top and we're gonna run a cut here like this. Okay, now let's just switch it to a actual cut. Run a cut here, and let's just run a cut. Shift click. You don't want it to be so deep, so move it up. Okay, we're also gonna remove a mirror from this, so let's just nuke a mirror. And let's just grab this this edge here on this cutter and move it on x-axis to create this kind of an interest. Obviously we need weighted normals here. You can see there's a shading problem, so Q, alt click on the sharpen, and we're gonna grab this one and we're gonna rotate it. We're gonna create a circular array. Okay, so or radial array. Q, let's go to I think mesh tools, yep, and then control click on the radial array, scroll down to 3, and then RZ and hold control, and you can rotate it to create this kind of a thing, which is pretty cool, yeah. And you know, this kind of brings us to tertiary detail stage, more or less, because these are still secondary details, but we slowly starting encroaching on the on the tertiary detail stage. So for example, if I went here and started to create some, you know, some small cuts, you know, like this, right? Not too deep, something like that, right? Let me just, you know, cut it in here, hold shift to shift it to life and just drop this one down a little bit to maybe some kind of a reasonable height and move it outside, right? To create this kind of a nudge. And if you want to duplicate the cutter, you can array this, or you can just simply move it. So select the cutter, go to edit mode, select everything, and then shift D, Y, and you can move the cutter to wherever you want, and it's going to repeat it in edit mode, so you don't have to reboolean this. You can either array this or do this. And you see this is kind of like a tertiary area, a tertiary detail area. It's going to add a little bit more interest to the mesh. We can go to Alt V with hard ups and add cavity because it disappeared, which is going to add a bit more highlights on the mesh. You can clearly see all these details popping up really beautifully, which is really cool. And you know, the rest honestly can be done with decals. You know, this we could still do something here in the back. For instance, we could grab this face. In fact, we can remove this edge here, so X and dissolve. Grab this entire face, go to Q, go to mesh tools and selection the boolean, scale it in, maybe scale it in more than the other one, and I don't want to push it so deep. Maybe something like this would do, right? And then we have, you know, kind of an interesting sort of a back here that could be chamfered actually. So let's apply this boolean and we could select this edge here and Control B that and create a chamfer in the back. And this is going to open it up really nicely. You could obviously add some more stuff. I'm not going to be doing that. But let's try to texture this, and we can easily detail this with decals, especially now that, Material Works, which is our add-on, you can get on our website, works with decals. So, and decal machine, so you can very easily add trim sheets decals to your mesh, and run details this way on your mesh. So let me show you. Let's go to materials. Let's turn on the HDRI to have some lighting. Let's go to cycles, and we're gonna add some mud to it. Let's go to metals, and let's make it machine steel maybe, or maybe half mud steel. There we go. This could be some, I don't know, coated titanium or whatever. And I think it is going to look pretty cool. This could be also coated titanium. So select this one, shift select this one, open this tab and simply copy. So we got that, and you already have some really beautiful model here, but we can make it better by adding tertiary details. So for example, what I could do, right, I could just add some screws, tiny screws. So let's turn off box cutter, so press W, because box cutter and decal machine share the same menu, which is D. And we're going to add some screws. So if you have access to our decal packs, you're gonna have access to all these decals. So let's just grab some screws, make them tiny, obviously, because it's a tiny device. Now, when you're placing screws, when you're placing these small details, you need to be very precise, and you need to think. You need to think very carefully where you want to place them. It's not accidental. So, for example, we have this concentration of detail here. We got this, two different mats. We have this cut going on here. We have this kind of a curve. So, I would be inclined to put my screw somewhere here. Okay, to concentrate this detail here, create a bit of an opening here, but concentrate detail here. Maybe make it even a bit smaller. We could mirror these screws across the mesh. So, click on this screw here and simply click on the mesh, Alt X, and mirror to the other side. And now you can see that the screw inherits the mud. So be good. Now let's project this decal. So we're going to add it to the mesh. So D and hold Alt and project. You could obviously change the mud of this screw if you wanted to through match. So we could, grab the coated titanium if you wanted to make these screws darker. I think that actually, this is fine. You got this shadow here. This shadow is going to create, detail on its own. So you don't really have to make it darker. It's going to be too strong of a detail. This is enough, okay? Another thing we can do here on this darker part, what we could do, we could put some text. So D, and let's grab some text. For example, maybe this one will work. This one will do. Let's just adjust it, scale this. GG, move it in here. And now you got a choice. I think here is going to be better. It's going to be sort of, just project this, sort of, binding these two pieces. If it's too bright, select the decal, go to matte here, and you can change the alpha. Holding shift, you can just drop it a little bit to like maybe 80% or something, or 70, whatever. So it's not so in your face. Okay, it's a detail, but it's not in your face. And then you can just keep stacking these here and there. We could just add some stuff here in the front. We could add trim sheets as well, because trim sheets work with our with our mats as well. So if I select these two here, go to D and add some trim sheet, holding Alt. You have to hold Alt when you're adding the first trim sheet, and you can see that this is going to add some trim sheets to our model. We can add a trim sheet, not a trim sheet, maybe somewhere on the mesh here. So you got a lot of options, right? We could add a trim sheet here as well on these on the front. So we could just select these, maybe these three, and add some trim sheet here. So let's just add this one. Boom, and this is going to create additional detail here in the front. We could add some additional elements here. with our decal pack. So maybe something like this, you know, like tiny cuts here. You could scale this as well, D and project, and then we're going to select that one and mirror. So you got these things on the front, you know. Now you don't want to overload this with detail. You want to, you know, leave it more or less clean, but you do want some details here and there. So like for example, here in the back, what we could do, we could add some vents. So let's see where we don't have vents. We need to find them. Something like this, for example, right? This would work. Maybe here in the back. So hold control and just place it, make it smaller, so it's not so huge. Remember, these decals are massive, so they 2K resolution, so they're gonna, you know, be of very good quality. And you see, there you go, and it's gonna bring you back here, and it's gonna create some interesting detail over there. Let's just, you know, mirror this to the other side. There you go. Here at the back, we could add another loop. So just, you know, add another loop, and we could run another trim sheet here. So D, and let's just, you know, run something interesting, like maybe something like this, right? And you know, boom, right, you get this detail in the back, beautifully wrapping around your model. You know, here in the back too, you could add something if you wanted to. I'm not gonna be doing that. Here on the back, we could have some asymmetrical detail. Okay, so for example, we could have some kind of like an indicator or button. So let's go to D menu again. Maybe something like this, maybe. Okay. So kind of, you know, a tiny light that's gonna be indicating that it's on. Can make this even smaller. When you're adding emissive decals, you want to make sure that they're really small, otherwise they're gonna be pulling a lot of attention, okay? So, you know, something like this will do. We could even add some kind of like a button here or whatnot. So just adjust it, make it smaller, and, you know, place it somewhere here. And project it, and there you go. Okay, and you're gonna have this kind of you're breaking symmetry, which is really interesting. So this could indicate, you know, that to turn this device on, and the light is on, and there you go. And honestly, I think, you know, we don't really need to do much more than this. This is enough. It's a very clean design, very simple design. If you wanted to, we could still add some detail here, maybe, you know, maybe grab this face, and remember this face is still an active boolean, so we could do that, and we could just, you know, maybe boolean this a little bit like that to create this kind of a detail. So you got the kind of like a rim inside here, and looks a little bit more interesting. Just make sure that the bevel isn't overshooting, because this is a really tiny, you know, tiny inset. So the bevel here on this one, you know, has to be really small. Okay, can't be too large. If you can't place a bevel because, you know, the cut is too small and the bevel is overshooting, which you can always do, you can use our add-on to add a procedural bevel. So you could add a bevel with our add-on like this. Just remember to add weighted normals, because otherwise it's not going to work. And obviously you're going to have to fix all these edges, but, you know, you could do that if you wanted to. I'm going to stick with the bevel, because, you know, I think it just looks cool. If you wanted to add different matte to a specific element, like for example, you know, we could add a different matte here. So I select this face and Control Plus to expand it, and we're gonna add a different matte here to this element. You want to go to the matte selection and shift click on the matte, which is going to add a matte to that specific place. This is going to actually be interesting because it's going to bind this matte here to the front, and it's going to create more interest in the front because you can see it's brighter. It's going to bring, you know, your eyes to the front, and then pull them back to the rear of this item, because you have this different color here, darker color, and also this light. So you kind of, you know, by adding this different matte here in the front, you're pulling eyes here, and kind of closing this design. So the only thing we need to do, we need to repeat the trim sheets, because we changed the matte here, so the trim sheets are gone. So we're gonna have to run some trims here. So let's do that. Let's go with, I don't know, this one will do or something. Maybe this one is fine too in the front here. Let's just run a trim here. This one will do. That looks good. And, you know, you're good to go. You could also add decals to a specific face. So for example, if you want to add the decal to this face specifically, you want to move a cursor to the face, And then you want to apply a decal here. So let's just grab some decal that, you know, gonna be fitting in this area. So grab this one, and you see gonna be added to this area here. If you want to move it to the cursor, you shift S and move the cursor, and it's going to move to the middle of this face, and then you can just, you know, add this tiny detail here. So we can scale it to fit, and then we can project it, and you're going to get a nice detail in the front very easily. And we can just, you know, copy that to the other side, boom, and you got some cool details in the front here. We can move this cursor back to origin so we can see that. And you got this really nice detail in the front. Looks pretty cool, right? Now we're gonna be adding some mud to the floor. So let's go here and let's add maybe some rubber. We could add this perforated rubber. We're going to apply scale to this floor, and we're gonna make this rubber a bit brighter. So let's go to color, and we're gonna copy this mud color here, but we're gonna make it a bit brighter by simply changing the values here. You don't want it too dark. We can make it a little bit on the bluish side, maybe not too bluish. Something like this. Now the issue here with a floor like that is that it's not reflective, and it's not going to really bounce light back on this dark object. So maybe brighter floor is gonna be better. So let's try maybe plastic and shiny plastic. You see, that's going to reflect the light back onto your model. So if you are rendering something very dark, that's what you may want to do. Also, the reflections here, we're obviously going to be changing the HDRI here to something different. But you know, what you can do if you have kind of nasty reflections, you can always mattify your object. So you can just increase the roughness of your object, right, to kind of, you know, mitigate these reflections. You see, it's kind of like a mattified aluminum now, so it looks pretty cool. Same with this one. You could mattify it a little bit, so just, you know, invert this here, and you can just make it rougher, okay, if you want to. So it's not gonna be so reflective, you know. I think it's gonna be easier to capture this. And then we need to find some proper HDRI that's gonna actually fit to what we want to do here. 6 of these HDRIs actually come with the add-on, so you know you're gonna be getting these if you're gonna get that. We can obviously rotate this here, so you don't have to go to nodes at all. You can do this from this interface here. Maybe that's not what I want. Let me see. Gun gradients. This is an interesting lighting. Maybe something like this. Let's do the camera. Page down with machine tools. You need to have enabled the view spy smart come to view. And then let's just collapse this for a second. Let's just lock camera to view, zoom it in. Also, we're going to increase the focal length to 135 to collapse the perspective. You see, like the perspective collapsed now, and the model is more angular. With a wider focal length, the perspective is going to be kind of wonky. I want to go lower, so I still want to show the top is important, but I want to go a bit lower with this one. We could actually change the, you know, the ratio here to 3440 by 1440, which is going to be 21 by 9. I think it fits better because the object is kind of, you know, flat and sort of oblong. So we could do something like this. And you want to move it closer to this right hand side of the frame, because that's the front of the object. You want to leave it a bit more breathing space here, and also that's the, you know, main concentration of details. So you wanna showcase that. It's really important. Okay, now let's unlock the camera from view, so when we move we don't going to, you know, disturb this. Now you have a choice with the floor. You could put it directly under the object, which is, I think in this case, might work. So what you want to do, you want to be very precise here, because you want to have these contact shadows to be actually accurate. 0 the numpad, beautiful. Lays on the floor, we got nice ground here. You want to be closer to the top of the edge of the frame. because you want to lead into the object with this ground floor. You want to have a payoff. You want to lead to your model with this ground. Okay, you don't want to place it too low in the frame, so you don't want to, where's the camera? You don't want to do this, right? I see this all the time. You want to leave the ground kind of untouched. You want to leave a bit of a ground here, more space in the bottom than top, because you want to lead to your object. I mean, depends obviously on what you're shooting and how you're shooting it, but in this case, we want to leave some space in the bottom to lead to this model. Okay, this is a very good framing. It's very solid. We get nice reflections, space for some logo here in the bottom. Looks really good. You could even zoom it closer, so we could fill the frame a bit more. We still have space. We could do something like this. This is gonna leave less space on the top, but it's fine. But honestly, I think that this is fine for me. All right, page down and unlock from view. Now we do need to work a bit with this lighting, because it's not bad, but it's not amazing. Okay, so let's see what we can do here. Let's just play with these gun gradients, and you can see what we can achieve here. We definitely want this light to come from the front. You want to shine a light on the front, but you also want the light on the top. So maybe this gun gradient is a bit better. Now we got the light from the front and the top. This isn't actually bad, We could add some reflector on the other side. It's a little bit dark though. The main feature here is the front. So we want to light it from the front. So the lighting comes from over there now and front, right? So this is good, but we could definitely scale this plane here. It's too big. G, Shift, Z, and move it in here. You don't want your plane to be too big, because it's gonna be obstructing the light. We can even rotate it to fit this, this framing, and maybe S, Y, Y, X, X. Scale it a bit here. There we go. And what we want some reflector on the other side. So at the plane, move it in here. Let's rotate it and scale this, and let's rotate it like this and see what's gonna happen here. We're gonna add some mud to it. So let's add a white mud and see what we can do with this plane. Okay, let me just turn it on and off and see what's gonna happen here. If you want to find your object in the list of objects, hover over the list and press period on the numpad. It's gonna jump to it. And we're gonna turn it on and off. Where is it? There you go. Turn it on and off and see what happens. So let's see that. It's a little bit too bright. So let's just I'm not sure I like that. I'm not sure I like that. I kinda don't. Let's try different lighting here. Let's try simple A. See what happens. Maybe this one is better. So let's reset it to 0 and see if we can rotate this. We get some more light on the front here, which is good. This is not terrible, but it's not amazing. But it's not terrible. We could see if we could actually move this plane to the other side. So let's just move it here, rotate it like this, and see if it's gonna add light or remove light, because it's quite important, right? Let's just make sure that this mud is brighter and see what happens. Move it closer. Yeah, this is I think gonna open the light in the front, you see, so that's good. Let's move it closer. Let's move it even closer here. Rotate it so it's not in the camera view. You need to make sure it's not in the view. And let's see now. It doesn't really do that much, to be honest. Let's try to rotate it on X like this. It's gonna obstruct it, okay. How about that? It's actually opening the front a little bit. I think I prefer this. So this is actually not too bad. Now I'm wondering if this wouldn't be better actually if you reverted back to rubber, you know, and did this. Obviously it's too dark, so we need to, you know, let's copy the color and make it a little bit brighter. And see if this is not gonna be better. Maybe gonna be more interesting and add a bit of a blue here with less saturation. I think it just looks more, you know, if it fits better with this floor. Let's actually pump it up so we can pump the strength of HDRI by maybe 0.2. And I think this is quite decent. Let's save this because reasons. And let's try to render this. Now, my render settings are very simple. All you need is 300 samples here. You need denoising, obviously cycles, GPU compute, and then the light path. This is what I'm using. It's a bit of an overkill, but I like overkills. Now, this light here in the back is a little bit strong. You see that? This is a little bit strong, but I think we're fine. We got the text here. We got, you know, these two in the front. What we could do technically, we could introduce some kind of a tiny light maybe in here. I wonder if we did something like this. Hang on, let me just go to regular view GUI and just introduce a tiny bit of light here. Let's remove this. It's a good thing I saved it. Dissolve it and then run another loop here. Tiny one. E has to be really tiny, okay? And then let's go to Q, matte, and Alt click on blank matte. There we go. This should be emission. Perfect. And you see it's tiny, okay? And now this emission is going to bring your eyes back to the front and, you know, help a little bit with, and it's blue as well, so it's kind of the same color. And you got this beautiful triangle now between these emissions. They kind of frame the whole object, so you're not really pulled back that much. Now what we could do also, we could just make this one a bit smaller. Select that, go to edit mode, select this one S, and just scale this a little bit to make it smaller. And I think it's gonna be a little bit better. Okay, you don't want to make these emissions huge, and that looks really cool. Okay, that looks really cool. I think I like that. So now let's render this and see how it goes. This floor, you know, this floor pattern could be a little bit larger. So let's try to change the scale on it. And I think it could be a little bit darker, but actually maybe this is fine. But it could be a little bit larger. So let's go to mattes and let's grab this matte here. Let's go to transform and let's actually decrease the scale to showcase some of these, you know, some kind of a pattern on the floor. I think this could be a little bit darker. Okay, this could be a little bit darker. I think. Let me see that now. Let me just save it again. I need to install power save. This add-on is amazing. Okay, so now let's render this again. See how balanced this design now is. Okay, look at this. So we get this. I'm gonna bring this to the Photoshop. Don't worry about these lines. This is a massive image, so it's a zoomed in or actually zoomed out image, and this is what's causing all these kind of funky lines. Never worry about your render in a preview. Always, you know, save it as a TIFF. You could save it as an EXR, but I think it's an overkill. TIFFs are fine. All my renders are TIFF 16-bit. Make sure it's 16-bit though. And save it. And we're going to open it in Photoshop. Now, this looks decent to me, I think. Now, what we also want, okay, we want the cutout, right? So we want to get the floor. We want to nuke it in render. And we want to also nuke this one in render. And the problem is that it's going to actually, hang on, I need to move this a little bit out like that because we need to cut it out in Photoshop, right? So when I'm gonna render this image now, we're gonna be rendering the reflector and the and the model. I do this quite often because I want to have the ability to cut it out very precisely in Photoshop, so I can select it and I can manipulate with the model separately. So when my background is too dark or too bright, I can brighten it separately, and it's really important. Okay, so let's do that. Let's save it as actually let's save it as a TIFF as well, and we're going to name it 2. So now let's open Photoshop and I'm gonna overlay this, boom. And all I need to do now is grab this, you know, this line here. I mean this triangle here, and simply delete it. So we're going to grab an eraser and erase it. So okay, so now what I have this just a cutout. I'm gonna hide it, and now I can select this one and separately edit my model or separately edit my background. So for instance, if I'm going to now go here and Control J this to duplicate it, I'm gonna go to Camera Raw, and let's just open up the scene. You see the scene is a little bit dark. If you're gonna click here, you can see that these areas here are actually clipped. This should be a bit brighter, so maybe the original render was a bit too dark. I'm not gonna be rendering this, but I'm just saying that, probably it's a bit too dark. But we can fix this, I think, here with, not the texture, that's not what I wanna do. Light. So we can lift the exposure here, and we could lift the black point a little bit, and also lift the shadows, right? You see it's gonna become a little bit brighter. Lift the exposure a little bit more, and then we're gonna go to effects and we're gonna run some clarity on this image. All right, and this looks much better. Let's go apply this, boom. Now see, if I want this background to be darker, right? All I need to do now is I need to, select this, control click this, click on this image and run a mask on it. And my object's gonna become brighter, but my background's gonna remain the same. Obviously, you can, manipulate now with the mask and kind of bring them closer together so it doesn't look so disconnected. But I think this is this background's a bit too bright, so I want to make it a bit darker. Maybe not as, there we go. If you want to make it too bright, you're gonna start losing the edge of this model. Although, you know what, maybe actually that's not bad. I kind of like that, to be honest. Maybe this is fine. You know what? I think this is fine. So now let's Shift Control Alt and E, and we're going to go to my favorite tool, which is Nick Collection Color Effects Pro. It's a paid filter for Photoshop. Get it because it's really good. You're not gonna regret it. And I usually use a Pro Contrast here to adjust the contrast, and just one slider fixes it all. We could remove this effect slightly from shadows. Also, I wouldn't mind adding some film grain, but we can do this later. Let's apply that. And we're gonna get some bending on the back here, you can see that, but we can very easily fix that. Now, this is a little bit too crazy, I think, so what we're gonna do is, run a mask on this one, and then we will just, we will brighten this background, but not to this degree, just a little bit like that. I think this will do. And then let's just Shift Control Alt again, and then we're gonna go to Filter, Nick Collection. We're gonna run some vignette filter on this one. So let's go to vignette filter. So let's nuke the Pro Contrast. Let's go to vignette filter, and we're going to change this to a longer, sort of a more horizontal orientation. And this is too strong. Something like this will do. You see that? Just a tiny vignette, there we go. I think it's still too strong. We can always lower it down a little bit. There we go. And then let's run it again, and we're gonna go to Color Effects Pro again. I'm gonna run the, what do you call this thing? We're gonna run the cross-processing here on this. Let's see if we can choose something cool. Maybe something like that will be looking good. Maybe it's a bit too strong, so we're gonna drop the, the opacity to something like this. And maybe we should add some film grain to it. So, in fact, before I'm gonna run a film grain, let's just apply this and let's run topaz filter. This is a filter that allows you to remove the bending. There's a bit of a bending here in the back, a little bit. So what we can do is go to topaz, the noise here, and let's go here to this debending, and let's see if we can actually debend this a little bit. There we go. I think this should sort the problem. There are different ways of debending in Photoshop, but I think this will work. Alright, and now we can run some cross-processing on this. So let's go back to Color Effects Pro, and let's run this cross-processing filter. Maybe we can remove it from highlights a little bit. Again, this is, I think, too strong. Something like this, maybe. I'm not sure I like that. Maybe this one is better. Looks more realistic, I think. There we go, and that will do. And all we need is just some kind of a logo here in the bottom. So we were using this shark thing. Shark, that's the one. And just run it in here. Now, this is, important when you're going to place this. If you're going to place this here, we're going to sort of align it with this. I don't think it's a good idea. I think a better idea would be to make it smaller and maybe... Man, this is going to be tricky. Somewhere here, I think. I want to offset this a little bit from this edge. You see what I mean? I think that's better. What you also can do is control-click this, go to curves. This is also what I do quite often. Turn it off, and then you can, determine what kind of color you want, brighter or darker. But it's going to kind of inherit the texture that's already in the image, which is pretty cool, right? I think this will do. And we can move this, wherever we want. I think this will do. You got several triangles in this composition. It's a very powerful composition, so let me show you, okay? First of all, you got this element here connecting the back and the front, okay? So the front and the back, this element is sort of linking them together, okay? It's kind of like a bridge. Then you got the concentration little here, here, this one, and for front, okay? And obviously the text. And the rest is negative space. So if you kind of disregard these, these elements, if I paint it over these, you will see that everything else is just blank. That's what you want, because you want areas for your eyes to slide from one area of detail to another. Another thing is that we have several triangles, like I told you, right? First of all, we got triangles here. You have a triangle here, and you have a triangle here, right? And another one here on the top. So you got 4 triangles surrounding this frame. That's 1. 2, you got a triangle here in between this dark element, the logo, and the front, right? And then another triangle here between this emissive detail here, here, and here, okay? This is a really interesting composition. You got these beautiful diagonal lines combined with very soft angles. So you get a dynamic feeling with a soft feeling. So it's, this is why it looks so good. All right, well, that's it. That's how you create, a really good, well-balanced model. You don't need much. You just need to know where to place your details, how to place it in the camera, how to add your materials, and how to balance everything in post-processing. And you don't need many details like you see on this image. You just need to know where to place them, okay? And if you're really serious about learning, like I said in the beginning, get our accelerator course. It's fantastic. We have thousands of students, multiple hundreds of testimonials. Go on our page and check. We have them publicly posted on our page. Obviously not all of them, but as many as we could find. And this course will teach you all the basics of modeling, detailing, texturing, rendering. It's going to give you very solid foundations going forward. And, you're going to be able to come up with your own models, your own designs much easier, because you're going to have solid foundations. And foundations are everything for anything that you want to learn. Okay, thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.